We are the living, planted on God's earth to prosper, and yet in earth's garden with our brothers we find a jungle of spiky intrigue in which we claw our way to positions of material advantage. If we achieve such a goal, we may find false victory. To offer a helping hand to companions less able gives more in return than the struggle through life's jungle. For about us there are others who are not so fortunate. To them there is only permanent darkness. To be here high amongst the spectacular mountain scenery of Switzerland seemed impossible, and yet it had happened. Here we were, Anne and I, hundreds of miles away from home, enjoying 14 days' holiday in this wonderland of hot sunshine with air like wine. We certainly needed this holiday. It was the first we had had for many a long year, and even after the first few days I could see a change in Anne. Anne had suffered greatly during the last 5 years, and her struggle against seemingly impossible odds had taken its full toll. We were married when we were both quite young. Patricia, our daughter, arrived on the scene, and the year after our second daughter was born. Then came the moment which was to change our lives completely. It happens to other people, but not to us. But this time it wasn't other people, it was us. Anne is totally blind, and has been for the last 5 years. We live in St Anne's, which is of course next door to Blackpool on the Fylde coast. When we found that the doctors could do no more for Anne, we needed a different kind of help. And it was about this time we were introduced to the Blackpool and Fylde Society for the Blind. We were desperate as we made our way to their offices tucked away in an odd corner of the town. But behind the signs announcing fundraising events, we were to find people who live with blindness every day of their lives and know the special kind of help needed. These offices are the centre of a charitable organisation which stretches over the full 20 miles of coastline from Lytham St Anne's to Fleetwood, and it is well known for the excellent work it does for the blind and the physically handicapped. The Princess Alexandra Home is an example of this work. In April 1963, at a cost of over £100,000, the home was built and paid for out of money collected by members of the society from the general public. It is sited on the boundary between Blackpool and St Anne's. The Princess Alexandra Home has been designed for the particular and special needs of the elderly blind, who in many cases also suffer from other infirmities of old age. The residents are encouraged to learn new skills on machines which the society provides. This man, for example, has learned to use a braille writing machine, and now he is able to communicate regularly with the world about him, bringing him immense pleasure. Everything in the Princess Alexandra Home is typical of the way the Blackpool and Fylde Society for the Blind do things. Loving, meticulous care is given, not only to the large, but also to the smaller things, all of which are equally essential. When meal times are announced, the several lounges quickly empty. Of course, along every corridor and every wall, there is a guide rail with buttons embedded in it to signal doorways and give other cues for guidance. A large kitchen with an expert chef makes meal times a pleasure. Surprisingly enough, the food served in here is relatively simple, but that's because the residents like it that way. The home has just about every amenity you can think of. Its own laundry, sick bay, staff residency, but perhaps it's the home's own chapel which is the greatest attraction for the residents. A short covered way from the main building protects the congregation from the elements and allows the chapel to stand separate and aloof from the main building. Here, the cheerful and happy people who live in the Princess Alexandra home give voice to song, and although in perpetual darkness, they find that which others not so sorely deprived search for and do not find, simple peace and happiness. I was thinking of that chapel while sitting with Anne at the lakeside at Montreux. Perhaps it was the peaceful and quiet lake which had sponsored the thought when Anne, who had been reading her own type of magazine, suddenly got up to walk to the edge of the lake. I was curious to know what had prompted this sudden desire of hers to approach so close to the water's edge. For in spite of her self-confidence, she knows better than to put herself in a hazardous position. Then I found out why. It's like that with blind people. For a second, sight as I know it has been taken away from her. It seems to have been replaced by a sense far more acute, of the days when I pitied her for her affliction of long past. The help the blind require to compete in a world where sight is normal is not pity, but kindness, understanding, and the special facilities to learn new skills. Skills which will help them to lead a normal life, vital to their mental health and even survival. From the water, I could see the hotel where we were staying. Rowing over that still mirror-like water, we glided on into the sun. The oars felt strong in my hands, and with every stroke the water creamed before our bow, and we moved forward, forward. It reminded me of the day when Anne herself was able to go where she would in the busy, dangerous world outside alone. The Blind Society pioneered the teaching of the use of the long cane. This apparently simple device, which is now in use by blind people throughout the world, gives an unbelievable self-reliance to the people who have been given the opportunity to master its use. The secret is in the way in which it is held. So lightly and delicately is it placed in the hand that the slightest touch with the end of the cane can be felt and interpreted. And of course, sufficient warning is given to the user to allow her to take evasive action before the matter becomes a serious one. The Blackpool and Fylde Society for the Blind provided Anne with an instructor, and in the quiet courtyard of the Princess Alexandra home and in neighbouring schools, Anne practiced for many hours. At last, she was able to satisfy him of her ability. And of course, it's part of the instruction to meet unexpected objects. Many hours of long, patient practice were necessary before Anne was capable of trying her newfound independence on the main roads by herself. At last, the time came, and her instructor, fully confident, left her to her first blind solo walk in the outside world. It would be very difficult for anyone to believe that Anne, who could certainly see nothing, is blind. But she learned this route to be safe by first using her cane. The sound of the water on one side and the people on the other are sufficient to allow her to walk with confidence, and now without the aid of the cane, which first proved the route to her. In the water, however, a cane would be useless to anybody, but my voice is quite sufficient to give her a sense of direction and for her to find me and the refreshment I had waiting for her. Anne had come to realize that her affliction could be beaten if she was determined enough. What she required was a job of work to do. Working at a useful job with other people is a certain way to achieve confidence and integrity. After some discussion with social workers of the society, Anne decided that she would apply for a job at the Society's industrial centre in Blackpool. She got the job and was sent on a training course at the factory of this well-known textile manufacturing company, learning how to make the luxurious candlewick bedspreads for which the company is famous. The first job she learned was the marking of the complicated patterns on the blank material. The job was made for her, for it relied on a sense of touch rather than sense of sight to do the job accurately. She mastered this job completely to her and everybody else's satisfaction. And then, wanting new challenges, she moved on to the packing department to learn how to pack the bedspreads. Her first try at this job was not very satisfactory, but in the hands of the patient but impromptu instructors, Anne, with dogged determination, mastered the complications of folding the bedspreads and packing them into the boxes she could not see. After many years of discussion with various authorities, the Blackpool and Fylde Society for the Blind built this modern industrial centre in Blackpool, which was opened early in 1969. The thought of basket making, chair seating, mat making, and machine knitting as an occupation we had looked upon with horror. To us it was synonymous with blindness. Anne wanted to forget her affliction if she could. The society, however, had different ideas for their new factory, and traditional blind products were not part of their plans. This prompted Anne to apply for a job there. The factory is run like any other commercial enterprise and manufactures bedding under the Society's own label, Sleep at Ease. Very superior quality spring mattresses, divans and pillows are made here. Candlewick bedspreads are also made here under a sponsorship scheme for Diana Kelp. The factory works as a subcontractor, and both the unsighted and sighted employees work together, some of them using power-operated machines to sew candlewick onto blanks, following prepared patterns which are put onto the blanks also in this factory. Erected to provide employment not only for the blind and the near blind, the factory also provides employment for the severely disabled sighted people of Blackpool and the Fylde, for whom no provision for sheltered employment had previously been made in this area. Because of this, there are many people here doing a useful job of work again and finding satisfaction in doing it. It is large enough to employ up to 50 disabled people of all kinds, and some 30 already work here. Their disabilities include arthritis of the hip, fractured legs, congenital heart disease, multiple sclerosis, and epilepsy. Incidentally, all the people who work here receive weekly wages and are in fact treated like the employees in any other factory. Anne's work brings her into contact with the Industrial Centres Committee. This committee is one of the bodies which makes the society such an enterprising and successful organisation. These are the sort of people who meet regularly and enthusiastically to give their full attention to the providing of better facilities and providing an environment in which the blind can come to enjoy a full and happy life. We started thinking about our holiday in Switzerland one Saturday afternoon while we were shopping in town. Perhaps it was the gaily coloured brochures which made me draw Anne inside. My heart sank. How could I take a blind wife so far? And in any case, who would take us? But I needn't have feared. The travel agent showed us the brochure of a tour company who, besides doing normal package tours to wonderful continental resorts, also did special tours for the blind and disabled people to the same places. We went about our shopping that afternoon in something of a trance. Neither of us had spoken of a decision to go, but I think then we knew in our hearts that it would happen, and we were shopping now for something more than just everyday things. We were shopping for our holiday. Anne loves flowers. We have a small garden at home full of flowers. And although she cannot see them, the scent which drifts from our small patch during the long summer days tells her more of their presence than could her sight. We stopped in the hardware department of this store to buy a few packets of seeds, and I left Anne while I made a payment at the cash desk. I am sure her second sense can tell her what is in the packet. Gardens and flowers are things you can have in your own home, and to have about you your own possessions is something which most people find important. Holland House is one of 2 blocks of flats maintained for the blind and the near blind by the Blackpool and Fylde Society for the Blind. Holland House is in Lytham, and a similar house, Hipkins House, is at St Anne's. The important thing about these homes is that each resident has a self-contained room furnished with their own furniture. There is, of course, a kitchen and a communal dining room, and each house is supervised by a house mother. But what the residents in these flats treasure most is their independence, and they take great pleasure in inviting each other to their flats and making afternoon tea on their own stove. This is a different type of help for the blind than that offered by the Princess Alexandra Home, but it's of equal importance. For these people to live here with their treasured possessions around them gives a feeling of completeness and the regular routine of winding up the clock, a clock which has probably ticked to the anguished hours until the society took a hand in need. It stands as a symbol to all that has gone before, but more important, it represents a happy present and a future for its owner. The house mother is never very far away. The tea is made again and again each day, but no one here would question the luxury of the occasions. I'm quite certain that the owner of this wine cellar in Montreux was no tea drinker, and indeed, after our visit to this cellar and tasting his delicious wines, inhibitions were somewhat lowered. But it didn't really matter, for after all, that is what a holiday is for, to relax a little. The Society knows this, and for years they've been taking blind people of the Fylde for short holidays and day trips all over Great Britain. With the advent of these special package tours abroad, the Society, with its usual willingness to examine new ideas, will be finding ways in which to give blind people, the near blind and the disabled, people who can least afford it, a holiday in resorts where sunshine can really be depended upon. The demand for living accommodation continues to increase, and the latest project undertaken by the Society is to build 2 blocks of flatlets for single people and married couples on this site at Anchor's Home. Work has already started on this ambitious scheme, which is likely to cost in the region of £200,000. It is also intended to build a social centre here, which will be used not only by the blind people, but also by the Society to hold fundraising functions. It is also hoped that the concert hall will be used by local amateur dramatic and operatic societies, thus helping to integrate the blind into the life of the community. It's a principle of the Society to fit the people who need accommodation and assistance into environments that suit them. And naturally this means that a variety of types of accommodation is needed for the different varieties of human taste. These flatlets, when completed, will mean the Society has added one more vital asset to benefit the blind people of the Fylde. Money is the most vital need if the Society is to continue to maintain and improve its facilities. Without money, the Society's work would be severely restricted. But fortunately, the members of the Society are a hard-working crowd of people who throughout the year organize all manner of functions which attract large crowds of people from all walks of life. These events serve to provide the Society with a reliable income. Garden parties are high on the list of events during the summer months, and lady members of the Society seek the help of local shopkeepers to provide items to fill the stalls. Many of the things which are on sale have been made in craft classes by the blind people themselves. There is always afternoon tea at these events and plenty of helpers, both young and old, to act as waitresses. This is a garden party being held by the Poulton ladies at the Thornton Lodge Hotel. When all the visitors have gone home and the proceeds have been counted, the organisers and helpers sit down themselves to a well-earned cup of tea. Blackpool during the summer months is well known for its splendid shows. The top stars from all over the country come to entertain holidaymakers in Blackpool. The stars are asked to donate their services to the Blackpool and Fylde Society for the Blind for fundraising events. This football match is now a regular yearly event and is typical of the events in which these hard-working performers help the Society. Most of the male stars appearing in Blackpool volunteer to take part in the Stars football match in aid of the Society's funds. Surprisingly enough, the match not only has its humorous moments, but provides some very good and spectacular football. But it's thirsty work playing football in midsummer in Blackpool, and at half-time the chairman of the Society with the committee chairman serve refreshing drinks to the players. Even the lady who kicked off is not forgotten by the Society's chairman. In Blackpool, events organised to raise funds can be quite spectacular. Here are the Red Arrows assembled ready for an air display over the town. The whole spectrum of entertaining the public and at the same time earning money for the Society's use is explored. Even golf tournaments are on the agenda. Each area in the Fylde coast has its own committee responsible for fundraising. And once a year, all these people assemble in Blackpool for the annual cheque presentation. Every committee is represented. And after a welcome by the mayor, a senior member from each table presents the cheque to the chairman for the total amount of money earned by the committee during the year. Money comes in from every type of fundraising event which can be devised by the ingenuity of these people, and the simple collecting box is still as important as ever. And when the time comes round for the Society's turn to invade the highways and byways of the town, there is always a generous response. For many of the townspeople already are well aware of the useful role the Society plays in the Fylde community. Cheque after cheque is added to the mounting pile, some for a few pounds, others for many hundreds. But it is on this scale that the Blackpool and Fylde Society for the Blind work. But the money is badly needed and well used. Supplementing this income are legacies left by people who have recognized the fine work that has been done and is being done by the Society. As our holiday drew to an end, we could look forward to going home. We have prepared for ourselves, with the help of the Society, a new life, a good life. We were not alone any longer. We have friends around us who understand our problems and are there to help us whenever we need their assistance. In this modern world, an affliction so terrible as blindness need no longer condemn a person to a miserable life. All the year round, there are social events for the blind held by the Society in well-established restaurants, hotels, and social centres. Nothing is skimped to provide enjoyment for the visitors to these events, and the atmosphere is bubbling and gay. Anne today is a real person once again, but she's only one of many hundreds of people who've been helped by the Society's understanding of human needs. They have given to the blind of the Fylde coast dignity and self-respect by teaching them to live with their affliction and providing them with the means of doing it. Both young and old need this kind of help. It is the help that only people who are trained can give, and they must have the facilities to carry out this work. This means money, and a lot of money at that. Anne and I have been lucky. We were amongst the fortunate ones, but there are still many who require help, help to become independent. Sympathy and pity are all very well, to be permitted and shown how to be a normal citizen. To be accepted as useful citizens, that is the only thing needed, the one thing to open up the world to them. Anne is not exceptional. She is a person just like anyone else, but she was given an opportunity which she took. She is typical of the many people who have been helped. She now helps other blind people to a fuller life, like so many of her contemporaries. But it is the fundraisers and committees who make it all possible, who strive to build a life-saving bridge between the general public and the blind. It is the responsibility of all people to shelter their less fortunate brothers and sisters, and this responsibility includes the blind themselves. Can anyone really refuse to offer a helping hand when so much is in balance?
Hello. You've heard my story and seen how, with the help and care of this society, I've been able to pick up the threads of my life again. The tireless assistance and encouragement of the wonderful people who work for it has helped turn my once useless and dependent existence into a rewarding and useful life, and I'm only one of many. Blindness is not an affliction calling for pity. The Society has proved that if the amenities are available, the blind can be taught to live with their handicap. By providing an environment compatible with the everyday world and teaching them to live and work in it, the blind can be taught to be self-reliant. When the Society returns one of its charges to the world, that person returns as a complete individual, capable of and eager to do a useful job of work. Thus, the community as a whole benefits. To finance its work, the Society relies almost entirely on public support, and the object of this film is to show how some of this money has been spent. Much has been achieved, but much more remains to be done. Rising prices and increasing overheads on existing establishments are constantly making it very difficult for further expansion. You may wonder why, in this age of state benefits, such charities are necessary. But the perfect system has not yet been devised, and inevitably there are gaps. Certainly, the state ensures that any person can live, but the needs of the physically handicapped are far greater than just the financial ability to survive. Charitable organisations exist to bridge this gap. Their aim is to care for, and wherever possible, rehabilitate those who cannot fend for themselves. The Blackpool and Fylde Society for the Blind is a shining example of all that is best in the many worthy charities in this country. Its work is vital and irreplaceable by state aid. Please help by donating as generously as possible. And if the thought occurs, why me? Think also, there but for the grace of God go I. After all, 7 years ago, I never thought I should be blind either. Please send your donations to me, Anne, care of the Blind Society, Blackpool.